A very good morning to everyone. The Office of International Programs, Sri Ram College of Commerce, University of Delhi, welcomes you all to the brainstorming session on Shared Future, Youth in Democracy and Governance in collaboration with the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India. With immense pleasure, we welcome our Honorable Chief Guest, Ms. Meeta Rajiv Lochan, Secretary, Youth Affairs, Government of India, and Guest of Honor, Professor Chandar Shekhar, Chairperson, International Relations, University of Delhi. We are truly honored to have you with us, ma'am and sir. To welcome our honorable guest, I would request Professor Simrit Kaur, Principal SRCC, to present a bouquet to Ms. Meeta Rajiv Lochan. I now request Ms. Ankita Tomar to welcome Honorable Professor Chandra Shekhar with a bouquet. I now request Ms. Varthika Khandelwal to welcome Dr. Saurabh Jain, founder, Fundu Labs. Okay. Ms. Vishakha. I request Dr. Varthika to welcome Ms. Vishakha Bhaskar, co-founder, Angrakha.com. I request OIP Student Coordinator Siddharth Agarwal to welcome Ms. Kriti, IAS Officer 2021 batch. To begin this event on an auspicious note, I invite the dignitaries on the dais for the lighting of the lamp to formally commence the program. Light symbolizes knowledge and darkness symbolizes ignorance. Knowledge removes ignorance just as light removes darkness. Also, knowledge is the lasting inner wealth by which all our outer achievements can be accomplished. Hence, we light the lamp to bow down to knowledge as the greatest of all forms of wealth. Tamso ma jyotirgamaya, which means leading from darkness to light. Let the light of the lamp bring auspiciousness, health, and prosperity in our lives. College of Commerce was established in the year 1926 in Daryaganj. Earlier called the Commercial College, it was renamed to Sri Ram College of Commerce in 1951 after its founder, Sir Lala Sri Ram, and it was established in the current building in the university campus in 1954. The journey from 8th Daryaganj to the present day SRCC represents our evolution from a humble beginning to an illustrious, preeminent institution pioneering education in the field of commerce, management and economics. SRCC is a culturally rich institution with representatives from every part of India. The alumni of SRCC are making it in every field: business, politics, startups, policy, theatre, films and many more. The essence lies in initiative and student ownership. SRCC has been awarded A++ grade in the second cycle of the NAAC accreditation in August 2022. It ranks number 1 in commerce stream by India Today Group Best Colleges Survey for the past 10 years and as number 1 commerce college by the Week Hansa Research Survey 2021. With world-class infrastructure and the finest faculty, SRCC is one of the most prestigious institutions in this country. In 2026, as SRCC shall complete 100 years of its journey, it is swiftly heading towards being a college of global choice. The Office of International Programs SRCC creates and expands international synergies with acclaimed global universities and institutions through cross-cultural and academic exchange programs as well as research activities. The office also anchors summit on universal issues to inculcate and nurture talents of students, thus helping them reach global heights. We would like to present before you a glimpse of OIP SRCC through this video. The G20 presidency would be a landmark moment in India's history as it seeks to play an important role in finding pragmatic global solutions for the well-being of all, and in doing so manifest the true spirit of Vasudev Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future. For India, the G20 presidency also marks the beginning of Amrit Kal, the 25-year period beginning from the 75th anniversary of its independence on 15th August 2022, leading up to the centenary of its independence towards a futuristic, prosperous, inclusive, and developed society, distinguished by a human-centric approach at its core. It is our great pleasure to have our Honorable Principal, Professor Simrit Kaur, with us today. Professor Simrit Kaur is the 15th Principal of Shri Ram College of Commerce. Prior to joining SRCC in September 2017, Ma'am was the Professor of Economics and Public Policy at the Faculty of Management Studies, University of Delhi. Nominated by the Indian Council of Cultural Relations, Professor Kaur has been a visiting professor at the University of Social Sciences and Humanities, Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, and a visiting scholar at Kingston University, London. Her research areas of interest include competition and productivity, climate change and agricultural policy, and poverty and food security. In addition, she has published and presented several papers at national and international conferences. Professor Kaur book Privatization and Public Regulation, The Indian Experience, published by Macmillan, received the Best Book Award. Honored by the Business School Affairs, Professor Simrit Kaur is a recipient of the Best Professor in Public Policy Award. I now invite Ma'am to kindly deliver a welcome address.
Good morning to all of you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking out time. Today's morning, we have with us our chief guest of the day, Ms. Meeta Ravilochan, who's been gracious enough to accept this invite and discuss aspects related to G20 and Y20 and what would be the role of the governance in a democratic setup. I also thank the Professor Chandrasekhar with us. Thank you so much, sir. He has a visiting team from Auckland waiting at his office, yet he has been kind enough to spare some time with us before he goes and meets the other delegates from the University of Auckland. I think the kind of work the university has also been doing in terms of promoting international relations is immense. And with this, the kind of work that Shri Ram College of Commerce has been doing in the area of maintaining international relations is actually really worthy of a separate mention. I thank Dr. Malika for pioneering this very, very efficient, this noble cause in an efficient and a positive manner. Discussing today's aspect, it's very important to understand why G20 and what is the role of the youth in democracy, and why is it important to maintain systems of accountability and better governance structures. All of us always try to optimize our personal benefits. It is a rational behavior, optimizing your own self. In economics, our fundamental assumption always is self-optimization. Only at a later point in time we start talking about social welfare optimization, but it is so important because if you try to maximize your own self, there is no way that social welfare is going to be optimized as well. So if you are aspiring for growth which is inclusive as well as sustainable, it is important for each one of us to start thinking of a future where we can share the future with us. So Vasudeva Kutumbakam the very tagline of G20, which talks about one earth, one family, and one future, is basically relying on the role of the youth as well, because the shared future is something which is more important from the perspective of the youth. For 20, 30 years more, most of the resources are going to be there. We will survive. But the question is, what about the youth who are just in the 20s and have so much more to live? And the children that you are going to give birth to, and the new generation which will come up. Are we thinking adequately about the future sustainability? With conflicts and climate change being at the forefront, what is it that is required so that we can all very proudly say we left something positive for the future generations as well, and did not consume all the natural resources and other resources which were made available to us, because exploitation of resources is not desirable from a sustainable angle. So my humble submission to the youth of the country, youth of Sri Ram College of Commerce, start thinking in a more holistic manner. I know you're already thinking, but please scale it up. Scalability is important, and the role of the youth is immense. In a world which is digitally connected, in a world where we have Industry 4 revolutions, in a world where you can also analyze big data within seconds, actually gives you the crux where you can utilize the data and start investing in resources which will ensure a future which is sustainable. And if you look at the wonderful logo of G20, the lotus, the basic ethos of the lotus is we continue to strive despite the challenges. It is grown in a place where the water is not conducive, yet the flower always flourishes. So please remember, don't blame your environment. We are there to change the environment, so be the change you want to see. And we all together must work for a future environment where we can all look at it of a future which is full of peace, full of harmony, and also adequate resources which we in current generation are going to leave forward for the future. Thank you so much once again, Dr. Mallika, for organizing and making the youth aware of these very pertinent issues. My compliments to the Government of India, and of course the representative of the Government of India that we have today, Ms. Meeta ji, and also our own representative from International Relations and University of Delhi, for sparing their time to flare up and ignite in the youth how to align themselves with the philosophy of the G20. Thank you once again for this opportunity, and my panelists, I hope you have a wonderful day, and because of you, my students are going to have a very fruitful interaction. Thank you, sirs, for the time that you've been able to spare with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your words of wisdom. It is also a pleasure to have Professor Chandrasekhar with us. Mr. Chandrasekhar is a senior professor in Persian, HOD and chairperson, International Relations, University of Delhi, and former director, Indian Culture Center, Indian Embassy, Tashkent, Uzbekistan. He is a member of several national, international academic bodies and has published several books, included an annotated text and introduction, a work on Akbar, Jahangir, and Ibrahim Adil Shah II's court culture, polity, and trade practices, and an encyclopedic dictionary of cultural, administrative, and military terms with comparative terminological study of 18th C Iran. Sir has also delivered lectures at premier institutions such as Harvard, Maryland, and UC Berkeley, and many more. I request Sir to please deliver the inaugural address.
Good afternoon. Namaskar. It is a matter of pride to be in this esteemed college and its international program. Greetings to Ms. Meeta Rajiv Lochanji, Secretary, Ministry of Youth Affairs, Professor Simrit Kaur, Honorable Principal of this esteemed college, faculty members, dear students, who are the real task holder of this workshop, and dear panelists, alumni, and some press people also who are there. It is perhaps first time that at the international level, India has emerged as great guiding leader. Presently, India is holding office of the President of G20, heading Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and other international forums. It is first time that world's major powers look towards India for all help in resolving various current issues. Stabilized foreign policy structured during the present government in the leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi is the main source behind it. G20's various directions to take Indian youth for constructive future, not only for our nation but for others too, show how India care for others' youth too. Whether it is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam or in Persian, in which I expertise, there is a saying, we are embodiment fixed with other organs. If there is a pain in one part, other part cannot remain without pain. And it is inscribed in front of the UN office at Geneva also. To train youth of other countries, Indian Council of Cultural Relations, with whom I have worked for more than 4 years, organized a program, Generation Next, Democracy Next Network Program. Under this program, India has been inviting a good number of young leaders from different countries, especially from Central Asian countries, for the last 4 years. As India presides over the 2023 G20, it prioritizes human-centered development and hence Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which translates world is one family, that espouses the idea of universal brotherhood and the unity of all living beings. Therefore, the theme of this year is One Earth, One Family and One Future. And this is the way how we want to connect our young minds who are spread over in every corner of the world. In fact, if any country is growing, it is due to the contribution of our youth, of any area, whether it is at the low level or the highest level. And I need not to tell the names, every one of us know. The theme of the workshop, Shared Future, Youth in Governance and Democracy, is incredibly relevant in today's world. Young people represent the future of our society and are essential to building a democratic and sustainable future and to contribute to our nation building, basically. I hope everyone present here know the number of youth getting education in Delhi University. Sometimes we being part of this university, we don't realize. I was in Dubai last week in Silk Road University Network General Assembly. It was the first time Delhi University was invited as a full member. When I informed the assembly that there are 140,000 regular students in our university, more than 400,000 students getting education through distance mode, School of Open Learning and even non-collegiate women's board. More than 25,000 faculty members, 86 departments, more than 90 colleges, variety of the centers for the research. This is how we are providing education to our young generation to become not only leader in our country, but leader in all spheres throughout the world, and they are already existing there. So we feel pride to be part of this great center of education and SRCC, a desired destination of thousands to get education here. World's major problems revolve around economy, since ages. This college creates leaders in economic issues, other social responsibilities. Delhi Institute International Relations Office has been at the forefront of promoting international understanding and cooperation. It has played a crucial role in fostering a culture of inclusiveness and diversity on campus. I am confident that this workshop will provide an excellent platform for attendees to engage in meaningful discussions, share their experience, and again, our young, bright mind get more and more information. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Shri Ram College of Commerce, Office of International Programs, especially the coordinator, Madam Malika, under the leadership of Madam Principal. I would like to also thank Ministry of Youth and its Secretary, Madam Raji Lochan, other panelists who have come to share their experiences, because it is more required every time, not only this time, that youth needs a guiding lamp always. And the seniors must act and disseminate whatever the knowledge we possess. I work in the field of archaeological archival documents. Madam was just hinting about the 18th century, our economic situation. I recently translated some documents of some Indore families who were sending 50,000 then rupees hundvis to Muhammad Shah's court. GDP in Shah Jahan's time, if we look at the many Persian sources and count the revenue, there are about 146,000 documents in National Archives, namely under Inayat Jang collection, that show only the Barar area how much revenue we were getting. More than 25 this GDP we had. So this is a time again to get back that. And this is on record. It is not only some verbal dialogues. It is on record that what kind of the economy we had. And we are fortunate that we are growing again back, despite all the pending things. Thanks to invite me. Thanks, ma'am, and I'm sincerely apologize to rush away. Thank you.
Due to prior commitments, Professor Chandrasekhar has to leave early. To extend our token of regards, I would like to invite Professor Simrit Kaur to kindly honor her with a memento. It was a pleasure having you here, sir. To deliver the opening remarks for the program, I would now like to invite Dr. Malika Kumar. Dr. Malika Kumar is the founder and coordinator of OIP SRCC and is a special invitee at the Broad-Based Committee for Gender Analysis and Budgeting, Ministry of Women and Child Care. She is the coordinator for Ministry of Education, Arpit Economics, and is currently serving as a member of Foreign Student Registry and member Special Task Force on Global Ranking, University of Delhi. Ma'am has been nominated as a member of the National Startup Committee, FICCI. Ma'am, I request you to please address the gathering.
Thank you, Anju. Namaskar, and a very good afternoon to one and all. It's my privilege to present the opening remark for the brainstorming workshop being organized by SRCC's Office of International Program in collaboration with Ministry of Youth Affairs on the theme Shared Future, Youth in Democracy and Governance. The theme is very important for the youth of today and the future of society. Democracy and good governance are essential components of a peaceful and progressive society. The purpose of this workshop is to bring together various stakeholders, including young people like you, policymakers, academicians, to brainstorm and find ways to enhance participation of youth in democracy and governance. Why are we focusing on youth? I'm sure you all know today's generation of youth is largest the world has ever known. There are estimated 1.2 billion young people. And you'll be proud to know India has the highest youth population in the world, constituting 40% of the total population of India. With such large composition of youth in our population, which we call the youth bulge, there comes new opportunities as well as challenges. Therefore, it becomes very pertinent to engage and involve our youth in important discussions and events like this. The Office of International Programs, SRCC, is privileged to collaborate with Ministry of Youth and Affairs and be a part of India's G20 presidency and Y20 celebrations for the same. And I'm very thankful to our chief guest, Mrs. Meeta Rajiv Lochan, for taking out time to be here with you for an interaction. Though the United Nations definition of youth, it comprises people aged between, do you have an idea what is the age the UN says? Well, it's 15 to 24, and we have different other studies indicating different age groups. But I would like to say, and I'm sure you're going to agree with me, that youth is not just numbers. It is not just a time of life. It is a state of mind. A mind which is willing to experience and explore. A mind which is willing to learn and adapt is ever youthful. And we are honored, we are proud to have ever youthful mind as our distinguished speaker, as our chief guest, Mrs. Meeta Rajiv Lochan. As our panelists, Vishakha and Kriti, one represents, she's an IAS officer. So we have from different areas. Vishakha is our own alumni and a very successful entrepreneur. She's a Shark Tank winner. So the event would commence with the address by our chief guest, Mrs. Meeta Rajiv Lochan, followed by a panel discussion on the theme Shared Future, Youth in Democracy and Governance. The thematic discussions will be with SRCC alumni joining from abroad. We have SRCC alumni from the World Bank, from Geneva, from USA, and different parts of the world. And the thematic discussion would focus on three parts. First is Digital India, second is student-centric governance, and third is policy sector. And this is going to be followed by Q&A with the students. So I like to conclude my opening remark with one of my favorite quotes. Mind is like a parachute. It works only when it is open. So we are sure the brainstorming workshop would indeed open our minds for the insightful discussions. Let us begin this workshop with an open mind. Not just an open mind. There's a word, OM, O-H-O-M. Open heart and open mind, So we with a commitment to work together towards a shared future that truly represents and serves the interests of all members of society, especially the youth. We look forward to enlightening and engaging brainstorming workshop, and we thank Ministry of Youth, Mrs. Meeta, our principal, Professor Simrit Kaur, our strong support and guiding light. Office of International Program has, upscaled. She talks always about scaling, has upscaled by leaps and bounds. It is because of her support and, guidance. So we thank all the participants who had joined here and who are joining online from different parts of the countries and world. Thanks to the panelists, thanks to these dear students. You are our heart and soul. Thank you once again. Back to you, Anju. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your encouraging words. It is our proud privilege to have our chief guest, Ms. Meeta Rajiv Lochan, with us today. Ms. Meeta Rajiv Lochan is an IAS officer of the Maharashtra cadre with an interest in ideas and policies that will empower India. She is currently Secretary, Department of Youth Affairs, and previously served as Member Secretary, National Commission for Women, and Additional Director General, Foreign Trade. During her tenure, she resolved the problem of prolonged turnaround times for licensing applications and reduced pendency of appeals by half. She has also worked towards improving the quality of teaching and research in higher education, skill building in future-oriented subjects, and facilitating leadership in urban local bodies to prepare and execute development plans. Ms. Meeta has published a number of articles dealing with matters of development and public policy in reputed journals. Her latest book is titled Making India Great Again, Learning from Our History, and looks at economic growth from a historical perspective. It argues that learning and knowledge are key factors in growth and nation building, and that a healthy relationship between government and business is critical for economic growth. I now request Ms. Meeta Rajiv Lochan, ma'am, to share a few words with us.
Professor Simrit Kaur, Professor Mallika Kumar, faculty members of SRCC, and my young friends. It's a privilege to be here with all of you today and to share a few ideas. Friends, I believe all of you have been told that India is one of the most youthful nations in the world. You have also been told that India will continue to be one of the most youthful nations, and that comparatively other nations are much older than we are. What I would like to share with you today, that India has always been built by young people. This has been the case yesterday, the day before yesterday, and through our entire history. In India, it is youth who have been the drivers of growth, who have been nation builders, whatever be the sector that you choose to look at. Bhagat Singh is a youth icon, is he not? Bhagat Singh was the most active between the ages of 17 to 21. Chandrasekhar Azad, who is known as a youth leader, he was just about 5 years older than Bhagat Singh. Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi was all of 21 years old when he took charge of the Indian matters in South Africa. When he came to India and when he takes charge of mass action in India, he is just 40 years old. So this has been the case with political activism, whatever be the era of history that you choose to look at. When you look at India today, you see that a large majority, or at least 1/3 of the chief ministers of India, they began their political journey in their 40s, in their early 50s. or when you look at a different sector, that's business, you see that a vast majority of Indian businesses are first generation businesses. The composition of Indian business in the last 30-40 years has changed dramatically. Many of them are in their 30s, some of them actually in their early 20s. So India has had youth as nation builders, as drivers of policy for a very long time now. When we say that youth are partners in development, that is a literal statement. We are not talking metaphorically over here. The Department of Youth Affairs wishes to craft a dialogue with youth. Government policies are crafted to empower youth. We actively seek the ideas of young people on how to craft a better future, on how to build a better society. The G20 presidency and the Youth 20 engagement group is an opportunity for doing just that. The Department of Youth Affairs plans to hold consultations pan-India to actively consult youth on what their ideas are. Any of you who has ever had an idea about changing the world for the better, please come forward. This is your moment, and we will put together and compile all these ideas. Just remember one small thing: given the scale of India, the complexity and the diversity of our society, it may not be possible to implement all ideas all the time. Upscaling good ideas can be complex and a difficult task in a country the scale of India. But once you articulate whatever it is that you wish to say, be sure that it will be reflected somewhere. And my experience has been that ideas which are doable, they get implemented almost inevitably. What also I would like to say is that for the vision of India as a developed nation to come true, it's not enough to have a few brilliant individuals engaging with each other. We need many more. Professor Simrit Kaur said that when young people engage with each other, when they engage with ideas, it maximizes social welfare. My young friends, what I would like to say to you is that when all of you engage with each other, when you actively engage with ideas, there are many byproducts. Social welfare is only one byproduct. The most important byproduct is economic growth. It is when young people engage with each other and build networks of information that it results in economic growth. Couple of years ago, we wrote a book called Making India Great Again, Learning from Our History. In that book, we have chronicled the achievements of many great Indian minds. India has produced great mathematicians, great scientists, sculptors, literateurs, businessmen. In fact, one of the businessmen whom we have talked about, one of the most prominent businessmen of his time, that house was richer than the English East India Company of the time. And that is as per the historians of the English East India Company. However, what we note over there is that that businessman was not able to generalize that achievement and that learning for others. Individual achievements do not add up to social achievement. A lot of rich businesses do not add up to a rich society. For that to happen, we must create a society where people actively engage with each other to generate networks of information, to generate a supporting ecosystem. We constantly read in the newspapers about how Indians have been able to go to other countries, richer countries. They do so well for themselves. Well, I would say that in order for those people to do well over here, we can and we should try to improve the ecosystem in which they are living, they are working. How can we do that? When we look at innovation hubs, there are many innovation hubs in India. We see that they are characterized by a free flowing exchange of ideas and information. It's that free flowing exchange of ideas and innovation that leads to economic growth. There's no one formula for it. Every society, every town every village has to find their own models. There are some things that work, a constant collaboration between industry and academia. That is one of the mechanisms that works. It works very well. Yes, we should do more of it. How can we promote it? The recent University Grants Commission guidelines, they talk about professors of practice. How can we take that forward? How can industry and academia collaborate with each other, not just for teaching and curricula, but for research projects? In fact, when we look at the R&D base for India, we find that it is this kind of collaboration which can lead to much better results. Or even if we look at a university campus, cross-sectoral collaboration across disciplines, across departments, it is that which leads to economic growth. We have so many innumerable examples in the history of science and technology. Today, if you look at diagnostic pathology, the ELISA array is something which is routinely used in all laboratories. That ELISA array was developed by a collaboration between an electrical engineer and a biologist. So we need to explore any and all ideas that can enable people to interact with each other and to generate those learning systems. When we go back to India of the 18th century, Professor Chandrasekhar talked about that, we find that Indian businesses were some of the richest in the world. The East India Company learnt a great deal from Indian businessmen, but the reverse was not true. So I think those are the lessons to be learnt in order to ensure that all the potential that exists in India today could find could improve achievement and could enable all of us to be creators of wealth. That is what we are looking for youth to create businesses, to create wealth. And I think over here the role of record keeping, information systems, data is very important. All of us talk about artificial intelligence today. Artificial intelligence works the best in those societies that keep records and have been keeping records for many decades now. India may be late, but we are climbing the learning curve very rapidly. And the importance of data can be seen not just in industry, it can be seen in services, it can be seen in the social sector, whatever be the sector that you would like to identify. All of you have heard the name of Florence Nightingale? Sabne suna hai. Florence Nightingale is known as a great nurse. What is less well known is that Florence Nightingale also wrote very serious notes on hospitals in which she said, we are talking about 1860, in which she said that it is important for hospitals to maintain information about their patients. And she says that hospital statistics are very important to save lives. That hospitals that are able to keep track of how many patients survive, the proportion of patients who die, are those who are able to deliver health care. She says that hospitals where patients recover in a few weeks are much better than hospitals where patients recover in a few months. Those are valid insights till today. And those Indian businesses that internalize those learnings, those are the businesses that succeed. There was a McKinsey report a few years ago, and McKinsey report says that one of the largest eye care businesses in India and in the world, that's Aravind Eye Care. They follow these kinds of practices of maintaining hospital statistics. they are able to conduct cataract surgeries at 1/6 of the cost as the National Health Service in the United Kingdom, and they achieve much better results. Now, for us, I would say that the learning is that we should be able to generalize those practices. Once again, a few individuals, a few businesses who are high achieving, a few rich people, they cannot achieve economic growth for the nation until they come together and until they generate those networks. Networks of mentorship, networks of learning are very important for the young. They are very important for the aspirational. Whatever be your sector, you need that kind of supportive network to grow. So there are several components to such networks. One very important component is a forum for experience sharing, for documentation. How can we build and strengthen such forums for experience sharing? In one of my, we interact with businessmen all the time in our course of work. Many of those businessmen say that they paid through their nose for information. That if they had only had a supportive hand who was able to tell them, this is a pitfall, this is something you should be careful of, this is somewhere that you should apply, they would have been able to save a lot of money. So I think these kinds of networks of information are very important. The other component of a supportive network is mentoring. Mentoring takes time, but time in business is even more valuable than money. So we need a network of mentors who are willing to give of their time, who are willing to support the young. So I would say that the alumni cell in any college is one of the most important cells in that college, because it is they who have those, who are clued in to all those networks, to those contacts, which could be harvested. I'm sure for this function and for every other function, the SRC uses your alumni cell. So please tell us, how do we use all these networks to build a sound ecosystem for business in India, so that we can provide a supportive environment for entrepreneurship, we can lead to a much more prosperous, a much more inclusive society. Today, Indian government has put in place policies that create opportunities for economic growth. Indian infrastructure is much better. Indian banks are flush with money. A single GST regime has created a unified national market. But these are merely opportunities. In order for them to come true, the youth of the nation should proceed to avail of them. Many people are already doing so. How can we increase that number? For that to happen, for a vision of developed India to happen, a few brilliant individuals are not enough. Visions emerge when people committed to the idea of development come together and ideate. When 1,000 people, 100,000 people, millions of people come together and ideate. And that is the advantage that technology offers us, that it allows us to exchange information, to exchange ideas in order to build that kind of vision. It is such a collective vision that we are looking for. SRCC is one of the greatest learning institutions in the country. We have every confidence that this young community of students can generate ideas that would lead to a much better society, that would lead to a much better tomorrow. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, ma'am, for your words of wisdom. We'll now be having a short tea break of 15 minutes. All the participants are requested to remain seated here. The second segment of the program will resume after the tea break. All of you are requested to remain seated. Meeta ma'am would like to answer questions from the audience.
Is this better? And we know how India is emerging as like a global technology solution provider. So ma'am, I would like to know what is your thought on India in terms of being like a leader, because right now we're seeing how India is emerging in all fronts. How do you think, especially in terms of the rural connect, we're able to like make sure the technology game we sort of dominate in the global stage?
Okay, thank you for that question. So I would say that India is already a world leader in terms of technology. Almost half our GDP today comes from IT and IT enabled services and various other related services. What we need to do, I think, in order to utilize this vast pool of very skilled, very innovative manpower is to see that it is used to improve efficiencies and that it is used to see that businesses use those IT related services. Most of the IT enabled services sector in the country today, it is catering to an international market. It is catering to American, European, other Asian businesses. While what we actually can work towards is to see that those services are utilized by indigenous Indian businesses. If the point about the modern world is the use of technology to improve productivity. So India has no dearth of innovation. India is full of talent and energy and technology. But in order to apply that, we need our businesses to come forward and to use that. Many of them are already doing so. Like I said, we only need to generalize those experiences so that others can take advantage of those models.
Nation building. Because what we are lacking today, the Prime Minister wishes that India and we grow, at a fast pace. But the nation, like in the colleges, it's okay. So out of the college, when the youth is there, so they're not really involved in nation building and they're leaving our shores. So how do we retain that talent here?
A very important question, Sanjay ji. I think in order to retain that talent, what we could do is to improve the ecosystem for business in India. Improve the ecosystem for living. Why do they migrate to other shores? Because they feel that over there life is easier. Just the other day there was an experience that was shared that very large numbers of students are actually going to countries like Canada for a degree which costs anything upwards of $60,000. Many of those colleges that offer those degrees, they are designed for foreign students. Those societies do not value those degrees at all, and people who use those degrees are then subsequently working in a large number of professions at the very base level of the economic pyramid in those countries. If you look comparatively at India today, the average income is 25,000 rupees a month for a normal household. At those incomes and those prices, a normal middle class household in 6 to 7 years of service, they are able to buy a 1 to 2 bedroom house in the peri-urban areas of any tier 1 city. They can buy a car within that earning. So if we have been able to improve income levels, by the way, this was not the case when I joined service 30 years ago. When I joined service 30 years ago, it took a lifetime to build a house and it took at least 15 to 20 years to buy a car. Today, that is not the case. So the only thing that is really lacking to my mind is a perception of a positive, supportive ecosystem which can help each other. And I would say that that kind of supportive ecosystem can come from colleges, it can come from businesses. We have a large number of those kinds of networks. We need to find ways to strengthen that network. After all, every young person in their life faces a period of confusion when they don't really know how do I solve the problem of getting a loan. I have a business idea, how do I translate it into the real time, or I've set up a business, how do I upscale it? I think we have over 6 crore small businesses in India, but upscaling them all is proving to be an issue. For that, you need a system of mentoring.
Okay. My name is Shubhanga Thakur from the current batch of Sri Ram College of Commerce. So ma'am, as you mentioned that 40% of the youth of our population is youth. So does the quality matters or the quantity matters?
No, I think it is energy and the ability to engage with each other that matters. If you look at it simply in terms of numbers, that is 380 million. That is more than the entire population of the United States of America. So I think India doesn't lack for numbers, but and as I said, we have so many brilliant individuals. Just look at this room. But we need people to actively engage with each other and solve problems, be problem solvers.
And one more question ma'am, like luck or opportunity?
And I think both matter, but most important is the ability to avail of an opportunity. If you look at banks, bank will always tell you that if they have 2 applications for loans, one of them is able to put up the collateral for a loan, but they are not, their business idea is not so good, and there is another alternative applicant who has a much better business idea and doesn't have enough money. Who to go for? They'll always go for the one with a better business idea, because they see that is an investment which will bring return. There is no shortage of opportunities, young man. But yes, you have to use those opportunities.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hi, good morning, ma'am. This is Ayush Podar, current batch of SRCC. Ma'am, my question was, like, what opportunities do we as SRCC students have at the Ministry of Youth? So,
Okay, so are you talking about learning opportunities?
of course, yes, ma'am.
Yes, so currently actually the Department of Youth Affairs is organizing youth consultations pan-India,
Right.
and we have about 14 consultations in the coming 8 to 10 months. So please write to us, and I was so happy to read that SRCC, I hadn't written to SRCC. They got in touch with me and they said, I think Siddharth got in touch with me. So basically, like I said, if you can develop a forum where people can exchange ideas and curate those ideas, put them together, because there is quite a journey between an idea and a viable working mechanism, action.
Right.
So do that,
Of course.
collate them, gather them, write to us, let us know.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. My name is Ruhani Bajaj, and I am executive member at OIP SRCC, and I hail from Saharanpur, Uttar Pradesh. So my question to you is, how can student-centric governance really contribute towards the social and economic development of the country?
Yes, I think student-centric governance is very important. If you look just at your own college and other colleges, Delhi is full of colleges. How active the alumni cell and the placement cell of that college has a direct relationship with how well those students do later in life. So, in whatever be the ecosystem, every ecosystem has a certain governance system. Each one of them, if we can improve them, wherever we are, whatever be our level of engagement, all of it contributes to what we call governance. It is not just when we talk about governance, you can drill it down, whether it is governance at the level of your ward where you live, about improving the sanitation conditions. All of you live somewhere, no? So please contribute your ideas about how to improve in that small community that you work, the college that you live in, and put together those ideas. I think a lot of the time students, I have heard people say, ki bhai, do we have a voice? Of course you have a voice, but you need to be able to communicate it actively. Make you are heard, but you have to articulate your idea in a language that is comprehensible to others and actively reach out and engage with others. I think it is by engaging with others that you could really generate a lot of value.
It's a pleasure having you here, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Last question.
Good afternoon, ma'am. This is Kanika from Economic Honors Batch. Ma'am, I would like to know your view on the accelerated unemployment and the post-COVID shocks as a challenge to the demographic dividend that we are talking about. So, how you see the post-COVID shocks to the economy?
See, if you look at the data, the economic data says that your economy more or less has recovered and it's back on trajectory. When you're talking about the problem of unemployment, I think we need to look at more robust data mechanisms to capture what it is that people who once they complete their education or even if they drop out of college, what is it that they are doing? We run these field level organizations, the Department of Youth Affairs. There people say that when people, even when they drop out of college, it's not as if they are sitting idle. No one sits idle. They are all engaged in employment of some kind or the other. I think that rather what they used COVID was in an effort to reappraise, reassess where they were and to see where they go from here. So to say that we are still in the post-COVID era and that there is a huge problem of unemployment, I think that may not be a very correct perception.
Ma'am, do you really think that our academies give us the right are the youth ready to assess the opportunities?
What do you mean? Could you clarify?
So, ma'am, I just wanted to know that our academics that we are studying, the graduation or post-graduation that we are talking about, so do the youth really ready to harness their potential?
Okay, so thank you for that question. See, when I was growing up, there was this whole group of activities that was termed as extracurricular activities. Now that I have put in so many years of service, I always wonder why it is called extracurricular. It is a part of the curriculum. When you look at a curriculum, then academia, studies of mathematics and geography is only one component of a curriculum. Experiential learning, learning to organize group activity, whether it is learning to organize a camp, whether it is going for internship in an organization, whether it is outreach, going into a community to help them build houses, anything. It is that kind of experiential learning which adds to your skill set. All of you have heard of EQ, isn't it? Emotional quotient. So that is just as important. It adds to your ability and your skills. Today when we evaluate people, we get applications for jobs all the time. One of the very important parameters is their ability to relate to others, to work as members of a team, to participate in group activity. All those skills come from experiential learning. So students who take that component seriously, who take their internship seriously, they are fit. They find their jobs much faster.
Yeah, fair enough, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
You can name your question. Yeah, I will be very happy to answer them.
Good afternoon, ma'am. This is Gauri Bhaskar from Team OIP SRCC. My question to you is that what are the advantages of student-centric governance and how does it empower the youth to participate in decision-making processes?
I think that in all communities, it is the students who are most important for taking the brand name of that particular institution forward. Today, if you look at the IITs are brands that are known the world over. They are the brand the world over because of the students of the IIT. Of course, faculty members are important for their research work and what they are doing. but it's the students who are the brand ambassadors. And when we talk about student-centric governance, we talk about the ability of students to feed back into their alma mater, to feed back into society, to take an active role in articulating ideas, in engaging with each other, in organizing discussion forums of this variety. I would say that it is that engagement with each other, that expression of ideas, which is the bedrock for public policy of any kind. When we make public policy, we actively look for the reports, rapporteuring reports for events of this kind. They are a very important component. So, more power to you. That is what I would say.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good
Thank you,
afternoon,
ma'am.
Myself, Chandra Prakash. Ma'am,
Due to paucity of time, we'll not be able to have more questions. Thank you, ma'am, for enlightening the audience with your insightful views and opinions. The session will now resume after a short tea break. Participants are requested to remain seated here. Thank you. The first panelist is Dr. Saurabh Jain, who is the founder of Fundu Labs, EdTech startup. Fundu Labs is pioneering a new space in EdTech called transmedia education. He has also founded a social initiative called startuplearn.org. Prior to this, Saurabh was the vice president at Paytm 197 Communications Limited till February 2021. He was directly reporting to Paytm's founder Vijay Shekhar Sharma for more than half of his tenure in Paytm. He is a chartered accountant with a keen interest in technology. He has authored 2 books on mobile application technology and 1 book on startup best practices. He is the investor of the Personal Persistent Messaging System PPMS and Neurosymbolic Network Generation and Execution System, for which he has got provisional patents. The second panelist is Ms. Vishakha Bhaskar, who is the co-founder of Angrakha.com, which is a D2C size inclusive clothing brand which recently got featured in Shark Tank India Season 2. She is also a well-known influencer who has been actively talking about body positivism and importance of size inclusivity in the fashion industry. She has been featured in publications like BuzzFeed, iDiva, Yahoo, The Hindu, Toy, NDTV, to name a few. She is an economics graduate from SRCC, batch 2015. Third panelist is Ms. Kriti Raj, who is the IAS officer of 2021 batch, Uttar Pradesh cadre. She is currently undergoing her district training in Saharanpur district of Uttar Pradesh as assistant collector and assistant magistrate. She is an engineer by profession and has experience in the women and child welfare sector. She had been featured by Zee News, APB News, Aaj Tak, Dainik Jagran, Amar Ujala, and other news platforms. Apart from her job, she finds solace in reading, painting, and meditation. The moderator for the discussion today will be Ms. Vartika Khandelwal. Ms. Vartika Khandelwal is presently working as an assistant professor at Shri Ram College of Commerce, University of Delhi. She did her bachelor in commerce from Daulat Ram College, University of Delhi, followed by masters in program from Department of Commerce, Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi. Thereafter, she pursued her master in philosophy from the same institution. She is currently pursuing her PhD from Delhi School of Economics. In addition to her vast teaching experience spanning over a decade, she has also published research papers in reputed journals and has also presented papers in national and international conferences. Her areas of interest includes business laws, corporate laws, and international business. Ms. Vartika has also contributed as resource person for the National Resource Center, ARPIT 2019 under Ministry of HRD, Government of India. In addition to the administrative responsibilities, she also plays an active role in the extracurricular department of her students by being the teacher coordinator for TEDx at SRCC. Now, without taking much of everyone's time, I request Ms. Vartika to kindly proceed with the panel discussion. Over to you.
Thank you, Anju. Very good afternoon to all of you. After today's enriching inaugural session, it's very appropriate that we continue our today's theme into our panel discussion, specifically in the context where India is celebrating its Amrit Kal. Given the demographic advantage that India shares, it's very important for us in country and society in general to give a conducive environment in terms of democratic institutions and governance practices to our youth, which act as a catalyst for them to nurture themselves in that environment and contribute towards the growth of our country. Also, I would say that since all of us has envisioned to take our country forward from being a developing nation to a developed nation, a dream which all we have seen, I think the youth is going to play a very catalyst and a very instrumental role in that. Despite the challenges that the youth of today is facing, be it in terms of, as mentioned earlier also, in terms of climate change, in terms of natural disasters that we are facing, in terms of political uncertainties also in certain parts of the globe. Apart from that, as we all understand that the massive layoffs which has happened is kind of imbibing some sense of fear, confusion amongst our young minds. But I think the problem-solving attitude, the go-to attitude, the perseverance, the resilience of our youth is going to be immense asset for us as a country. And in terms of globally also, I would say that this is going to be a huge asset for the entire global scenario where these young minds are going to be very instrumental. Swami Vivekananda has rightly said that the future of any country and a strength of any country lies in the efforts made by its youth. In the backdrop of this, I would like to initiate with this panel discussion. And I would first like to invite Mr. Saurabh to please share his views.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, thanks, Vartika, for calling me. So, I think we are at the cusp of a very big change in India. So, when I was a student, so we always used to read कि India was सोने की चिड़िया and हमारे देश में 1000 साल पहले हम आगे थे, 500 साल पहले हम आगे थे. And I always used to feel कि यार मैं काश हम भी उस समय पैदा होते और उस समय we could have seen that. And I never knew कि I was born in the best possible time, and I think you are born in fact the youth is now born in even a better time of the internet, when जो हम कई 100 साल से इंडिया जो पीछे था, I think now India is getting ahead, and I think by 2047, like I was talking to Vartika yesterday, and the government has this aim that India should be a developed country. And I definitely feel we will be a developed country, and it's very, like, if you see, probably very few people have seen that change. if you see generations of people, so अगर अमेरिका में आप देखो तो there was just one generation that saw that change, where America was a developing country and it became developed country. So we are fortunate enough कि we are of that generation, and the current youth, I'm not very old, but sometimes it feels very old. So अभी हम वो discuss कर रहे थे नीचे, तो I was telling about कि I passed out of college in 2001 and some students said, sir हम तो पैदा भी नहीं हुए थे अभी उस समय. So I feel जो अब लोग हैं, they are at the definitely born at the right time, because from 2023 to 2047, when we will grow and become a developed country, we will grow very rapidly. If you see all the economic indicators, उसके अलावा I have been a speaker from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, so the northernmost part where I have given a speech is Ladakh, and southernmost I have given a speech in Trivandrum. And I went to more than 20 states in last 4 years. And what I realized was there is a hope everywhere in India. So if whether you go to SRCC, whether you go to Jamia Millia, whether you go to IIT Madras, everywhere there is a hope. And there are students who want to become entrepreneurs. So if you see, मेरे father के ज़माने में people wanted to go in government jobs. हमारे ज़माने में people wanted to actually go to America and Googles of the world. But एक change आ रहा है इंडिया में, and that change is कि people now want to become entrepreneurs. तो आप अभी भी देखो तो विजय शेखर शर्मा, the founder of Paytm, he was the only person in his class who stayed in India. And if you see, he is one of the most successful people in his college after staying in India, not by going to America. So वो एक change आया. Now we have role models कि अगर हम इंडिया रहते हैं तो we can change the world. And I feel that India, due to its growth, तो rising tide lifts all the boats. तो अगर आप एक अच्छा करियर चाहते हो तो आई थिंक यू हैव टू स्टे इन इंडिया. एंड अमृत काल जिसे हम कहते हैं, तो आई वाज आस्किंग वर्तिका, मैंने कहा ये अमृत काल हम क्यों कह रहे हैं, तो बेसिकली वो इसीलिए है कि फ्रॉम अ डेवलपिंग कंट्री वी विल बिकम अ डेवलप्ड कंट्री विद इन दीज 24-25 ईयर्स. एंड इसको हम अगर अमृत काल नहीं कहेंगे तो और क्या कहेंगे, कि जो देश है, आप जिस देश में पैदा हुए थे, दैट वॉज, अभी येस्टरडे आई वॉज लिसनिंग अ स्पीच फ्रॉम इन्वेस्ट इंडियाज MD. तो इस 2014 में वी वर 122nd इन ग्लोबल डेटा रैंकिंग्स. तो मैं अपने बेटे को कल बता रहा था, ही सेड हाँ पापा 100 से ऊपर ही होंगे हम. तो मैंने कहा अब कितना है, ही सेड पापा 40-50 होंगे. मैंने कहा वी आर नाउ द टॉप डेटा कंज्यूमिंग कंट्री इन द वर्ल्ड. सो फ्रॉम इन 7-8 ईयर्स, फ्रॉम 122nd रैंक टू फर्स्ट रैंक, एंड ये सब जगह होगा इंडिया में. एंड टू एंड इट आई वुड लाइक टू से, आई गिव यू जस्ट वन एग्जाम्पल. सो वन ऑफ माई कजन्स 20 years ago, she was staying in Delhi NCR, and my JG and my cousin were working, and they left to have a better career opportunity in UK. So they recently came back last month for some time, and their kids also came. So her daughter is around 20, and first time my didi said, she said हम तो चले गए थे, बट शायद हो सकता है हमारे बच्चे 10 साल बाद इंडिया शिफ्ट हो जाएं यूके से वापस. एंड दैट आई थिंक इज़ अ बिग चेंज, कि जो लोग इंडिया छोड़ के जा रहे थे आज वो इंडिया वापस आने की सोच रहे हैं, विच इज़ अ वेरी बिग चेंज. एंड आई थिंक वी शुड बिल्ड ऑन इट एंड मेक इंडिया अ डेवलप्ड कंट्री.
Thank you, Saurav, for sharing your thoughts with us. Now I would like to invite Ms. Vishakha to share her views with us.
Hi everyone. So I'm not as good as Saurav, so I'm going to open my notes. Okay, first of all, it's such a great pleasure to be back here. Can I just say it's a big flex for me that I'm back to my college. So, I'm Vishakha Bhaskar. I'm 28. I graduated in 2015 and I did economics honors, but you will know why I shifted from economics to this thing, whatever I'm doing right now. I hope my trajectory can kind of help you in, I could be a case study for you guys in a way that if in future you want to change your fields in life, you can just go ahead without feeling any fear or anything. Okay, so I'll just quickly give you a little story and I won't take a lot of time. I know Gen Z and millennials are not blessed with a great attention span. So this was almost 22 years back that my mom met an astrologer and he said, "Aapki beti computers mein kuch karegi." And my mom was so disappointed. She said, either call center or data entry. That's exactly what she thought. And then now she's trying to locate the guy, thinking, okay, finally she's doing something related to, digital and technology. Now she wants to know where the guy is so he can just predict when am I getting married. So fast forward, almost 22 years later, here I am, building a very, very unexpected career out of, I have a D2C clothing label, never in my thoughts. Wildest thoughts I could imagine that I'll be owning a brand, especially after graduating from SRCC. In my 3 years of SRCC, I had a great, great, great time, but I also was a misfit. In my first semester itself, I knew I do not belong here. I mean, no offense, but the things I've learned from SRCC, the kind of respect I get after I say that I'm from SRCC, but I definitely was a misfit because everyone in the first semester was sorted. Everyone knew what they have to go ahead with. They knew, okay, I want to go to Bain, City, McKinsey, Deutsche, and here I was just sitting in co-op, ODing on Irfan Bhaiya ki patty. So, yeah, I mean, it's just surreal. I mean, for me, it was such a big change, and now I'm a very, very proud contributor to Digital India. How it all started, right here in the co-op lawn, a friend of mine said, you know what, you dress up pretty well for your size. And I didn't know if it was a compliment or a backhanded compliment or insult. I had no idea. And then a few months down the line, we were going for our first international exchange program, which was to Utrecht, Amsterdam, and it was the best experience of my life. I used that opportunity to make my mom spend a lot of money on my clothes, start a blog. I started a mid-size and plus-size fashion blog, and I took that opportunity to interact with a lot of girls staying there. We went to Paris, we went to Amsterdam, we went to Belgium, and I interacted with a lot of girls there. And one thing that we kind of figured out was, if you are mid-size or plus-size, fashion goes out of the window. And that's where I got the idea that, okay, eventually I have to get out of SRCC and I have to start something related to this thing. So yeah, when in third year everyone was sitting for placements, again I was ODing on Irfan Bhaiya ki patty and something else. And 2 years after starting Angrakha in 2018, 2 years I spent figuring out, self-doubt, lots of questions. Why did I do it? Was it worth it? No. Then COVID happened, and then eventually some game played by Universe, and we got supported by Meta, Facebook. We got supported in a way that they taught us, in those 2 years of COVID, they taught us performance marketing. Me, someone from economics honors who hated the idea of running Excel sheets, sitting behind this thing, when I saw the dashboard of Ads Manager, I freaked out. I said, okay, this is something that I did not sign up for, but now that I've learned it, I feel this is the best kind of high you will ever get in life, when you know, okay, this is the amount you've spent, and this is the kind of conversion you've got, all the analytics and data involved in it. And trust me, if I can do it, anyone can do it. I was so bad at maths. So yeah, this is pretty much how I got into performance marketing. I don't know how many of you guys saw a Shark Tank episode, but did anyone see? I don't know. No? You saw. Okay, there was one metric which made everyone's eyebrow raise, and which was our return on advertising spend. I don't know how many of you are interested in digital marketing. I don't know how many of you are going to take it up in future, but we had one of the best ROAS, it's called ROAS, amongst all the pitches that came on the show. For a brand who's not even dealing with experts when it comes to digital marketing, performance marketing, this is just a case study for you guys to dive into whatever you want to dive in. Digital India is a gift that keeps on giving, in a way that today, if you want to, just say, I do not want to go ahead with economics honors and I want to just dive into something else, the plethora of information that you have on the web is insane. Paid services, free services, everything. Resources are immense. So my little suggestion to you guys is, if ever you want to dive into something new, don't think twice, but definitely do try and validate the idea from your core group, your mentors, your friends and family. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vishakha. Now I would like to invite Ms. Kriti to share her thoughts with us.
Namaskar. A very good afternoon to the respected guests, esteemed panel members, the organizers and members of OIP whose hard work has made this possible, and my lovely, lovely audience. It's an absolute honor and privilege to be a part of this initiative where we are discussing our shared future with the young and enlightened minds of this generation. Shared future, youth in democracy and governance, is an idea which is highly relevant today as India presides over G20 2023, and we take it as an opportunity to unlock the potential of youth to advance India. The new paradigm of good governance and effective democracy is participative governance, where citizens are becoming a part of the democratic decision-making process, and youth particularly is turning out to be a responsible part of the population that wishes to not just see a change in the governance, but be a part of that change. The youth is not scared of voicing its opinion. However, that opinion should be educated and aware, and that's where we need to invest in the youth and nurture them as harbingers of change in the 21st century. The young Indian population holds vital demographic power, as almost 1 in every 4 Indians comes from the age bracket of 15 years to 29 years. Thus, compared to countries like China, Japan, and USA, which face the challenges of aging, India has the advantage of being placed in a position where it can play on its strengths of demographic dividend to drive social, political, and economic growth. The young and the bright minds of the country have the potential to be the change makers and the power to shape policy, influence markets, and reimagine social structures. The fresh perspective that the young blood brings to every institution enhances our ability to think creatively and disruptively. This makes the young population an important asset with the potential to offer immense leverage in terms of skilled labor, entrepreneurship, innovation, disruptive technology, and economic growth. In a rapidly changing world faced with urbanization, globalization, and automation, the skills needed for future, including cognitive, digital, interpersonal, and self-leadership skills, are undergoing a change. In the post-COVID world, accelerated automation, fast-track e-commerce, remote working culture, and integration of technology in everyday lives has thrown us into a new normal, changing the nature of employment and skills needed. Similarly, the shared global challenges like climate change, fourth industrial revolution, and migration for work that adversely impacts the rural economy and imposes a burden on the resources of urban towns and cities. This calls for shifting the focus on new skills needed for a new era. And when it comes to making the right intervention at the right time, what better than starting with the youth of the country? Thus, the youth being at the forefront of harnessing the power of technology in all spheres can serve as a critical component in the larger vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. The Government of India recognizes the importance of understanding this dynamic segment and nurturing them to shape the future, with a special focus on the students. Student-centric governance is about placing the students at the focal point of governance and nurturing them as active decision makers with the will and ability to shape not just their future, but that of the country. Student-centric governance focuses on youth development, which demands investment at the stage of education, keeping in view the need to create thinking, innovating individuals equipped with skills that include interpersonal communication, collaboration, critical thinking, design thinking, problem solving, and dealing with change. Students should be at the heart of the education system. We also need to give priority attention to support marginalized youths in the spirit of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, with a vision that supports inclusion and equity. Then we need to provide employment to the ignited minds. Several initiatives of the Indian government like National Career Scheme, leveraging small and medium enterprises, supporting the large informal gig economy, building an ecosystem and providing soft loans to further the spirit of entrepreneurship to transform job seekers into job creators are some vital inputs at this stage to provide sustainable and productive employment to young Indians. An important aspect that shouldn't be overlooked is the health of youth. That is central to the country's ability to grow and thrive. The campaigns like Ayushman Bharat and Poshan Abhiyan focus on eating right and fitness, as evident from Fit India movement and Khelo India that have enhanced key youth health metrics. In fact, now is the time we break free of the taboos and address critical areas like menstrual health, mental health, substance abuse, adolescent health, and reproductive health across all genders. The next area of intervention is youth leadership and development. The youth of India are the custodians of the future, and they need to actively engage in civic and political life to solve many societal problems. Volunteering is a crucial pathway to developing leadership in youth and building the essential 21st century skills. The organization of youth parliaments, literacy and debate clubs, cross-cultural exchanges are effective ways to broaden their horizons and mobilize them for the greater good. It is also a responsibility of the governing systems to create a just and equal society based on mutual respect where the youth feel safe, included, and are able to exercise their rights. Social justice needs to be upheld when dealing with deprived sections of the society. The young should be well versed in the ideals of inclusion, equity, dignity, liberty, and fraternity. They should be aware of their rights and duties and be a part of a value-based social fabric to reduce acts of discrimination and violence. On the other hand, to foster the spirit of participative governance, the youth need to come forward as action-oriented decision makers having a voice and opinion of their own. They should emerge as an important pillar of the civil society, capable of running campaigns that are constructive and further national interests. They can think out of the box, break the barriers, and infuse young blood and fresh perspective in policy making and community service. Then, and only then, we can emerge as a winner and a leader in the global arena. All stakeholders need to join hands to build a shared future that we deserve and dream of. And I extend a wholehearted invitation to you all to be proactive in shaping your future, our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Krati, for sharing your thoughts. So actually, in extension of what you have said in our conversation last night, since you're working for the underprivileged and marginalized section of our society, specifically the youth that you're working with, how do you think that what can be done as a society and as a country, what can we as do to bring these people, this section of the youth to the mainstream progress story of our country?
Thank you for the question, Vartika. So the marginalized sections, as far as they are concerned, we need to nudge them. We need to create opportunities for them. And we need to work harder than the mainstream education system. And when I say education, it just doesn't mean literacy and numeracy skills. When we're dealing with such a population, we need to think beyond the box. So we need to focus on vocational education, digital literacy, to the point that sometimes we train them into like how do you use a computer, how do you converse in English, and we are trying to make role models out of them. Like even if one person goes on and qualifies for some exam or becomes a huge sports person, brings an Olympic medal tomorrow, then these people will serve as role models and they'll drive that way forward by becoming an example. And also, I would say that skilling is very important because we are trying to, take the country forward in the manufacturing sector. So we need to provide vocational skills. And here again, we cannot impose things on the people. We should have an active feedback mechanism so that we know what they want, where their interest lies. And accordingly, we need to shape the policies. So it should be a bottom-up approach, and that's how you, start a small wave, and I hope that grows bigger and we're able to make some change on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you, Krati, for those words. I'm sure that vocational training is as important as mainstream education that we impart in our educational institutions. And like you mentioned, that since India is going to be like the vocal for local and manufacturing thrust that is being given, I think this section of the society has a lot of potential to unlock and contribute a lot to our growth story. Thank you for those words, Krati. So coming to you, Vishakha, since you mentioned that you were a misfit in the college, right? And how during those 3 years of your college life here, you must have fought with your own self, with your peers, and with everyone around probably, maybe your family members also. So how do you think that self-belief and self-confidence plays a crucial role in today's young, on the young minds? So what's your take on that?
I think immensely. I'm a big advocate of mental health. But one thing that you cannot kind of stay without when you are in a place where you don't think you belong is that your soul tribe. You need to have the people close to you who know what your worth is, who know what your potential is, so that time to time they can just nudge you and say that, okay, you might not be great here, but we know that you're great somewhere. You have that in you. So to all the kids here, just keep your friends close. It could be your family, it could be your mentors, but you definitely need that support system in your life for the days when your self-confidence is down, when your self-doubt is kind of clouding your mind. That's when external help is needed, definitely. So yeah, that's.
Thank you for that. I think the fact that you mentioned about external help is very crucial. So when we talk about mental health, I think taking external help is extremely crucial, and taking and realizing that you need it is also of utmost importance actually. And I think that these signals have to come from your peer group, your immediate family members. They have to have that kind of alarm bell ringing for you that you need external help. So
I think first step is always acceptance, always.
Absolutely.
That you need
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Vishakha. So Saurabh, coming to you, you mentioned, since you have been involved in Paytm for a very long span of your career, and of course, we see that Paytm has been one of the pioneers in education, I mean in terms of technology adoption and so on. So, and we have been talking a lot about role of technology. So how do you think that the technology per se has a role to play in today's growth? Also, I would also like to bring among a point that because of a lot of automation and artificial intelligence, there's a fear amongst youngsters that their jobs may be taken away by machines. So how do you cope up with all that queries, concerns of the young people?
See, technology is an enabler. अगर आप टेक्नोलॉजी को हटा देते हो पिक्चर में से तो थिंग्स बिकम वेरी पुराने ज़माने टाइप की थिंग्स. तो आई थिंक टेक्नोलॉजी इज़ एन इनेबलर and they really technology really helps. So I can give example of my own career. So I wrote India's first book on mobile app development. It was a book on Java to micro edition in 2003, and in parallel I completed my CA in 2003. तो अब वो कैसे हुआ? Because we were the first people who got access to internet. So internet came to India when I was just passing out of school. And I still remember उस समय वो dial up modems होते थे and वो सब चीज़ें होती थी, and it was very difficult to connect to the internet, but still at least internet provided us some access. उससे पहले in 7th I wanted to learn Pascal. I got a book for Pascal. मेरे को Pascal का compiler ही नहीं मिला because this was pre-internet days. तो technology is an enabler. सबसे बड़ा मेरा prognosis पिछले 15 साल से has been, एंड अभी रिसेंटली वन ऑफ माई डॉक्टर फ्रेंड्स ही कॉल्ड, ही सेड जैन साहब आप जो कहते थे ना 10-15 साल पहले वो हो रहा है कोविड के बाद, रिमोट वर्किंग. So my own take was that remote working is very important. And sitting in Shriram College, so I can share one interesting fact. So I read the book Wealth of Nations of Adam Smith, and उसके अंदर he has written a very interesting thing कि सब कुछ हमेशा पोर्ट सिटी में या सिटी जो आपकी सेंट्रल सिटी होती है उसमें सस्ता मिलता है. उसका रीज़न क्या है? क्योंकि ऑब्वियसली अगर इंडिया में कोई भी चीज़ आती थी पहले तो वो कोलकाता से, बॉम्बे से, मद्रास से, चेन्नई से, वहीं से आ रही थी ना. तो ऑब्वियसली वहाँ सबसे सस्ती होगी इंडिया में. इसी तरीके से आप नॉर्थ इंडिया में देख लीजिए तो ज़्यादातर सारी चीज़ें, आई एम फ्रॉम अ बिजनेस फैमिली, तो मेरे दादाजी की दुकान होती थी पुरानी दिल्ली में. तो पुरानी दिल्ली में ऑब्वियसली चीज़ें सस्ती मिलती थी बिकॉज आप कहीं से भी, लोग यूपी से, राजस्थान से, हर जगह वहाँ आते थे लेने. तो नाउ व्हाट इज़ चेंजिंग, सी विद द न्यू दिस इंटरनेट एज, तो अब आप क्या हो सकता है, आप यूपी में बैठे रह सकते हैं, आप बिहार में बैठे रह सकते हैं, एंड यू कैन सर्विस पीपल इन अमेरिका. तो एंड जोहो इज करेंटली डूइंग दैट. इफ़ वी नो द श्रीधर वेम्बू जो जोहो के फाउंडर हैं, वो गांव में रहते हैं, उनकी आधी कंपनी गांव में है. एंड मेरी फर्स्ट टाइम आई केम टू नो अबाउट जोहो बिकॉज आई लैंडेड इन सैन फ्रांसिस्को. देयर वॉज अ वेरी बिग बोर्ड जोहो ऑन सैन फ्रांसिस्को एयरपोर्ट. तो आई रियलाइज, मैंने कहा ये जोहो कोई कंपनी है, सर्च करा तो पता चला ये तो इंडियन कंपनी है. तो दैट इज़ व्हाट इज़ नाउ हैपनिंग कि आप, हो सकता है आप यूपी बिहार में बैठे हो, आप छोटे शहर में बैठे हो, एंड दैट इज़ हैपनिंग. अभी फन टू डू लैब्स जो मेरी स्टार्टअप है, वी हैव वन पर्सन इन आवर टीम जो बिल्कुल रन ऑफ कच्छ के साथ रहता है. वो बिल्कुल लास्ट, अगर आप वेस्ट इंडिया में जाओ तो बिल्कुल लास्ट शहर है जहाँ वो रहता है, गांधीधाम, मुंद्रा पोर्ट के साथ. अभी वी हैव जस्ट रिक्रूटेड अ गर्ल who lives in Nubra in Ladakh. अब मैं उससे पूछा था, मैंने कहा ये नुब्रा सुना है बिकॉज आई हैव बीन अ मेंटर इन लद्दाख ऑल्सो. तो मैंने नुब्रा सुना हुआ. तो शी सेड सर, एक साइड पे हमारे पाकिस्तान बॉर्डर है, एक साइड पे हमारे चाइना बॉर्डर है, एंड -20 डिग्रीज टेम्परेचर हो जाता है सर्दियों के अंदर. अब ये वहाँ रह रही है, एंड दिस इज़ इन अ कंपनी लाइक फन टू डू लैब्स जो अभी जस्ट स्टार्ट हुई है. तो आई वॉज जस्ट सेइंग, मैंने कहा अब हमें एक अरुणाचल प्रदेश में कुछ चाहिए, और वी हैव फाउंड वन कैंडिडेट इन तमिलनाडु. तो मैंने कहा अगर ये हो जाते हैं तो वी विल हैव अक्रॉस इंडिया. And that is happening. अब it is not कि I am just for national integration doing this. So the reason, another reason is कि I am able to find cheaper candidates due to this because छोटे शहर में generally the cost of living is lower. So we recruited one team member. He is living in Jamnagar. तो मैंने उसको कहा, मैंने कहा तुम हमारे साथ आ जाओ. He was getting an opportunity in a MNC from Britain. तो he said सर मैं आपको सिर्फ इसलिए चूज़ कर रहा हूँ, रिमोट वर्किंग हो रही है, आई नो दिस कंपनी हैज़ अ फ्यूचर एंड रिमोट वर्किंग हो रही है. तो उसका बड़ा क्लियर क्वेश्चन था, सर ऐसा तो नहीं होगा आप दिल्ली में मेरे को फुल टाइम बिठा लोगे? तो मैंने, नहीं हम दिल्ली में फुल टाइम नहीं बिठाएंगे, तो जामनगर बैठ, कभी रेयर केस में बुलाना होगा मिलने के लिए तो बुला लेंगे. एंड दैट इज़ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. आज मेरी 30% ऑफ माई टीम इज़ बेस्ड इन गुजरात, 20% ऑफ माई टीम इज़ बेस्ड इन महाराष्ट्र. सो अगर आप ये देखो, ये टेक्नोलॉजी से ही हो रहा है ना. तो आज से पहले मेरे समय, मेरे को आज भी ध्यान है, 15 साल पहले व्हेन आई रिटन इंडियाज़ फर्स्ट बुक ऑन J2ME, आई यूज टू गेट फिजिकली पीपल कमिंग फ्रॉम श्रीलंका, वेस्ट इंडीज़ टू लर्न फ्रॉम मी. ऑनलाइन नहीं पढ़ा पाता था. अगर मैं उस ज़माने में ऑनलाइन पढ़ाता तो मेरा बिजनेस 5 गुना ज़्यादा होता. तो नाउ दीज आर दी अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ यू आर गेटिंग. एंड यू सी सोशल मीडिया इन्फ्लुएंसर्स को देखिए, आप कंपनीज देखिए जो ऑनलाइन कंपनीज आजकल आ रही हैं. और दूसरा जो क्वेश्चन वर्तिका यू हैड वॉज कि क्या जॉब्स चली जाएंगी, तो आई वुड से आज से 200 साल पहले आप जाओ, जैसे एयरबीएनबी आपने सुना होगा, तो एयरबीएनबी में लोगों ने पूछा फाउंडर से, पीपल स्टे इन होटल्स, वाई विल समबडी स्टे इन समबडीज होम. तो इसे 200 साल पहले लोग क्या करते थे, आप कहीं जाते थे तो आप होटल में नहीं रहते थे, आप किसी के घर रहते थे. 200 साल क्या, अगर आप इंडिया में जाओ तो मुझे आज भी ध्यान है, मम्मी बताती हैं हम इसके रहते थे, उसके रहते थे. ये पिछले 20-25 साल से चेंज हो गया है कि यू गो समवेयर, यू से नहीं यार रिलेटिव के नहीं रहना, हम तो होटल में रहेंगे. तो वो चेंज हुआ. तो सेम थिंग हैपन्स हेयर ऑल्सो कि आप अगर 200 साल पहले जाओ तो मोस्ट पीपल वर एंटरप्रेन्योर्स. हर फार्मर एक एंटरप्रेन्योर था, हर जो आपका ये कुम्हार था वो भी एक एंटरप्रेन्योर था. तो इट वाज नॉट कि सिर्फ ट्रेडर्स एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप करते थे. उस ज़माने में सब मैन्युफैक्चर करते थे ना ये सब लोग. एंड अगर आप छोड़ दो तो जॉब्स कौन करते थे? जॉब सिर्फ वो लोग करते थे जो राजा के महल में या सरकार में होते थे. तो वो कितने होते होंगे? 5%, 10% होते होंगे. तो आई थिंक वी आर अगेन कमिंग बैक टू दैट वर्ल्ड वेयर पीपल हु आर फ्रीलांसर्स विल स्टार्ट अर्निंग. अब मैं आपको 2-3 इन द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ टाइम एक तो छोटे से एग्जांपल देता हूँ. तो आई नो वन पर्सन जिससे हम अपना सारा ऑडियो का काम कराते हैं. अभी जो लड़का है इसने मैं 5-6 साल पहले इससे मिला तो ये फ्रीलांसर था, ये अपना ऑडियो गाने वगैरह बनाता था। अब इस बार मैंने इसको कॉन्ट्रैक्ट दिया अपनी कंपनी के एनिमेशन फिल्म्स की ऑडियो के लिए, तो ही स्टार्टेड हिज ओन कंपनी। तो ये 2 म्यूजिशियंस मिले, इन्होंने अपनी कंपनी खोल ली। अब एआई से इन्हें क्या फ़ायदा होगा? एआई से इन्हें ये फ़ायदा होगा, गाना अपने आप बन जाएगा, पैसे मेरे से लेंगे, होगा यही। एंड एआई से आपको बेनिफिट होगा। सी एट द एंड ऑफ द डे चैट, मेरा बेटा कहता है पापा आजकल पढ़ने की क्या ज़रूरत है, चैट जीपीटी गूगल है तो, बट वो गूगल और चैट जीपीटी चलाने वाला भी तो चाहिए ना। तो होगा क्या, मेरे फादर के ऑफिस में जो काम 10 लोग करते थे, आफ्टर डिजिटल एडवेंट मैं 2 आदमी से कराने लगा। अब हो सकता है मैं 2 आदमी से नहीं कराऊंगा, मैं खुद करूंगा, बट मेरी ज़रूरत तो है। तो यू मोर पीपल विल नीड टू बी एंटरप्रेन्योर्स। गुड थिंग इज गवर्नमेंट इज डूइंग स्टार्टअप इंडिया, तो आप स्टार्टअप खोल सकते हो। एंड स्टार्टअप खोलने में फिर वो आता है कि सर हम छोटे शहर से हिंदी बोलते हैं, पैसे नहीं है। विजय शेखर शर्मा के पास सब कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स थी, ही इज़ सो सक्सेसफुल, पेटीएम के फाउंडर हैं। तो आजकल आप वो मत सोचिए, आप हल्दीराम को देखिए। अभी पीछे मैं एक बहुत बड़े ब्यूरोक्रेट है, उन्होंने बिट्टू टिक्की वाले का एग्जाम्पल दिया ट्विटर पे। तो बिट्टू टिक्की वाला रेडी लगाता था, आज उसके नीचे 1200 लोग हैं। तो नथिंग इज स्मॉल। आज आप कोई भी काम शुरू करिए, ये चैट जीपीटी वगैरह आपको हेल्प करेंगे। अगर आप क्यों सोच रहे हैं कि मैंने जॉब ही करनी है? आप ये सोचिए कि आई कैन हैव अगर ऑनलाइन कार अपने आप चलनी शुरू हो जाएगी, तो आप ये मत सोचिए कि मेरी ड्राइवर की जॉब चली जाएगी। आप ये सोचिए ना कि मैं 3 ओला के अंदर, उबर के अंदर 3 कैब्स लगा दूंगा और अब मैं 3 कैब से कमा पाऊंगा। तो अगर आप इस तरीके से सोचेंगे तो आपको अपॉर्चुनिटी दिखाई देगी। आज मैं सोचता हूँ कि 5 साल बाद क्या होगा, मेरी 10 आदमी की टीम 500 आदमी का काम कर पा रही होगी। वो 10 आदमी मुझे आज भी चाहिए होंगे और वो 10 साल बाद भी चाहिए होंगे, बट वो 500 आदमी का काम कर पा रहे होंगे। बिकॉज हम जो भी कार्टून बनाते हैं पढ़ाने के लिए, वी हैव टू ट्रांसलेट इट टू 10 लैंग्वेजेस। वो बहुत मुश्किल काम है, वो ऑटोमेटिक हो जाएगा। तो इट विल बी एन इनेबलर। एक आपने 20 साल पहले सुना होगा, वो एक हमारे बहुत बड़े पॉलिटिशियन थे, वो कहते थे कंप्यूटर दूध नहीं देता है, तो इस कंप्यूटर को मैं अपनी स्टेट में क्यों लगाऊं? एंड द ट्रेजेडी इज, उस स्टेट के लोग आज माइग्रेट करके सारे देश में आईटी का काम करते हैं। तो वी नीड टू कम आउट ऑफ दैट मेंटालिटी एंड वी नीड टू गो विद जो हमारे प्रधानमंत्री कहते हैं डिजिटल इंडिया की मेंटालिटी। आई थिंक उससे बहुत बेनिफिट होगा।
Right, thank you. Very rightly said that technology, we should not fear technology, we should embrace technology, and it has to be an enabler in that sense. Thank you very much. I open the session for question and answers from the audience. Yes. If you could just introduce yourself also. Okay, yes, please. I don't need it. Yeah,
You very rightly mentioned how, the risk factor is something which becomes extremely important. And you also talked about how metrics is something which helps you. The question which I sort of have for you is, when you're posed with uncertainty and you're like, should I take this leap of faith and go ahead and make this sort of business? What was your weighing metric when, yes, I'll go ahead and like make this into a reality?
I think a lot of factors. First of all was my conviction, like I was extremely convinced that okay, where I am is not what I want in life, okay. What my friends are going for is not what I want. I was pretty sure when I was in college, I knew that I'm going to start my own thing. Then eventually, just to put like a stamp on that, the decision that I took up a few jobs off campus. I tried to figure out that, okay, I might be assuming that I'm fit in this industry. I think I love, when it comes to fashion, I love everything about it, but do I have that in me to learn everything from scratch? Because I haven't studied anything in fashion. Everything that I've learned that I'm using right now in my own brand is through experiential learning. And so lots of factors, like this is one of them, that once I did those jobs and I enjoyed it, like I wanted to work more than 8 hours. It was not like a 9 to 6 thing for me. It was beyond that. I used to be back at home traveling all the way from Gurgaon to Mayur, 2 hours one side, and I still wanted to be working on it. I just knew that, okay, I love this. I absolutely love this. So it was one of those factors. So yeah.
Sit. If you stand, there's a camera. My name is Sanjay. And the question is just to Kriti. So since she's an IAS officer, and when we are sitting in Sri Ram College, so when I did my economics, so one of my friends went on to become an IAS. So when you attend these sessions, you know, like you gave your speech, so it was more like sarkari speech. And do the mahol, aapko, does it make you think that are you in the right profession? And down to 10 years up the line, would you like to be an entrepreneur like Vishaka or startup like Saurabh? Does it make you think in this audience?
Thank you for the question, and it's a lovely question. So, you know, like when I came to the service, I've like left the rat race after graduating. Like I was pretty good at academics, and then everyone thought I'll do something in computer science, like Vishaka. And then I dropped out and I said, I did not even sit for the placements. So that's my story. I was like, damn sure this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. And by the end of my graduation, I had figured out that it's going to be, you know, UPSC, civil services is my call. And that was the first time in life where, you know, I knew what I want to do. And this is the first competitive exam I'm going to be preparing for. And I wanted to go all in. So I cut off all the bridges, no backup option. And then I thought, if this is really what I want to do, like if this is what, you know, your heart tells you and this is your purpose and you found it, then I should start like wherever I am with whatever I have. Why do I need to wait till I crack the exam and become an officer? IS is just one way of service. If you just want to serve, there are numerous ways. I mean, Vishakha is serving in her own way. Sir is serving in his own way. And we are all equal partners when it comes to nation building. So, I mean, I'm pretty happy with what I'm doing. It doesn't feel out of place. And I'm pretty new to the service, but I can tell you for the past, you know, 1 year, a few months, I've never felt that I'm going to work, not even for a single day. It was like I'm going to live my dream life. And the service life is so dynamic, so organic. Like, even I don't know where my day would begin and where would it end. And, you know, the kind of experiences, it's very dynamic. I get to work at the grassroots. I get to experience so many things firsthand. You get the opportunities to really make a change, and the services as such where you see that change happening right in front of your eyes in a very brief span of time as well. And as you grow in the service, coming to your question, 10 years, 15 years down the line, so our roles keep changing. Like I'm on the ground right now, somewhere I'll go to the policy drafting phase. So, you know, we kind of grow into that, and we're always collaborating with entrepreneurs, businesses. So the window to collaborate and experience that is always there. So, and I think we need to go to a world jahan pe we can collaborate freely and there shouldn't be any boundaries. I mean, even the new education policy is about multiple dimensions that you can switch across disciplines. You don't have to strictly follow one particular stream, right? So that is how we collab and create a better world. Thank you.
Yesterday we were attending a program, Shri Kashmir University. So the chief guest was Mr. S. J. Shankar. So he incidentally is my senior at the FO school. So I was analyzing his career. So he went to Stephens. So I was telling my niece who's a chartered accountant because she said, Mama ji, you know, because he studied in Stephens, then JNU, so IAS to banna hi tha. But everything was nothing left to chance, and his father was a civil servant. Yeah. But you know, before he became the Minister for External Affairs, so he was appointed as global, you know, for Tata Sons. He was the head for global this governance. So I was just thinking, means down the career somewhere, you know, there's a vacuum, and the people on your right, they would always want to be in your chair. So we are, means as Indians, you know, we are not very much decided what we want to really do.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Akanksha from second year SRCC. I'd like to first thank all the panelists for sharing their personal stories and ideas. They were very enlightening and inspiring. So my question is directed to Mr. Saurabh, sir. My question is, how do you define education in 21st century? Like, you know, when we, the youth, step into the real world, corporate world, we, you know, realize that our degree or education doesn't really matter that much. It's the skills that matter. So, like, how do you define education, like, in today's world?
See, in 21st century, education is very important, but so Winston Churchill used to say ki, I don't want to be taught, I want to learn. So I think in 21st century, the focus will be on learning and less on degrees and credentials. So I always say, so I started an initiative called Open Class. So मैं क्या था कि after writing the first book on mobile app development, so I started training engineers etc. in big companies in Bangalore and Hyderabad. तो आई रियलाइज्ड कि मैं ना फ्री में पढ़ाता हूँ बच्चों को और बहुत कम लोग पढ़ने आते थे कॉलेजेस से. तो वन ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स हु लेटर हैड अ वेरी गुड करियर, ही यूज्ड टू कम एवरी टाइम. तो मैंने कहा तू आता है, तेरे सारे दोस्त क्यों नहीं आते? तो ही सेड सर आप ना डिग्री दे रहे, ना आप मेरे को जॉब दे रहे, आप तो सिर्फ पढ़ा रहे हो, इसलिए कोई नहीं आता पढ़ने. तो देन आई रियलाइज इंडिया में लोग मतलब आई एम सिटिंग इन SRCC, बट वो रीज़न ये, आप SRCC क्यों आते हो? मैं SRCC आता हूँ तो मुझे गवर्नमेंट का ठप्पा मिलता है कि मैं होशियार हूँ. तो आप शक्ति के लिए आते हो, लक्ष्मी के लिए आते हो क्योंकि आपको अच्छा पैकेज मिलेगा. आप पढ़ने नहीं आते SRCC. अगर आप पढ़ने सिर्फ जाते हो तो स्टैनफोर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी के लेक्चर सारे ऑनलाइन. तो व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से इज कि आप सरस्वती के लिए नहीं आते, बट इन 21st सेंचुरी दिस विल चेंज. अब वो चेंज कैसे हो रहा है? आई हैव नेवर सीन डिग्री ऑफ एनीबडी जिसको भी मैंने रिक्रूट किया, चाहे अपनी स्टार्टअप में चाहे बाहर. उसका रीज़न सिर्फ यही था कि आई ऑलवेज वांटेड टू रिक्रूट दैट पर्सन फॉर हिज और हर कॉम्पिटेंस. और यही मैंने देखा, चाहे विजय शेखर शर्मा हो, चाहे कोई भी स्टार्टअप फाउंडर हो, दे ऑलवेज सी. तो विजय ने काफ़ी सारे सीनियर लोग ट्विटर से रिक्रूट करे. ट्विटर से रिक्रूट मीन्स मैं जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल मैं विजय एक दिन मेरे को ट्विटर पे फॉलो करने लगे, तो विजय स्टार्टेड सीइंग माय ट्वीट्स. इसी तरीके से पेटीएम के जो हेड ऑफ प्रोडक्ट थे दीपक अबाउट, ही वाज वंस टेलिंग, ही सेड विजय ने मेरे को ट्विटर पे फॉलो किया, विजय केम टू नो कि मैं प्रोडक्ट का बहुत एक्सपर्ट आदमी हूँ, एंड विजय वन डे सेड हमें क्यों नहीं ज्वाइन करते. So this is how recruitment is happening. Today there are companies who are recruiting after all these hackathons etc. तो आप IIT में गए हो या नहीं, आप SRCC में गए हो या नहीं, ये थोड़े दिन में सेकेंडरी हो जाएगा. बट दिस इज़ नॉट टू से कि SRCC या IIT की ज़रूरत कम हो जाएगी. व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से इज़ कि एज SRCC स्टूडेंट्स आपको ये समझना पड़ेगा यू आर नाउ कम्पीटिंग विद एवरीबडी, एंड दैट हैपेंस. पहले क्या होता था, अगर आप आज से 30 साल पहले जाओ, इवन अगर जॉब में, तो आप साउथ दिल्ली से इंग्लिश स्पीकिंग आदमी हो तो 95% लोगों से तो आप इंडिया में वैसे ही आगे हो जाओगे. बट नाउ दिस इज़ नॉट अ गेम चेंजर फॉर यू बिकॉज एवरीबडी स्पीकिंग इंग्लिश. आप छोटे शहरों में चले जाओ, एवरीबडी इज़ ऑन इंटरनेट, एवरीबडी इज़ टेक सेवी. तो आज आपका कंपटीशन किससे है? आज आपका कंपटीशन इंदौर में एक बैठे उससे है, आप साउथ दिल्ली में बैठ के वो नहीं कर सकते. वो जो एक ओल्ड बॉयज़ क्लब था वो ख़त्म हो गया है. सेम चीज़ नाउ इज़ हैपनिंग इन दी डिग्रीज कि जो होशियार है, अब होशियार पढ़ा लिखा इंसान भी हो सकता है डिग्री वाला, और बिना डिग्री वाला भी हो सकता है. इट डिपेंड्स ऑन वेयर यू वांट टू मेक योर करियर. तो पहले वो था 3 साल पढ़ लो ज़िंदगी बन जाएगी. माय मदर यूज्ड टू से, मैं कॉलेज ड्रॉप आउट होना चाहता था तो शी यूज्ड टू से 3 साल पढ़ ले ज़िंदगी बन जाएगी. अब वो हो गया है कि आपको ज़िंदगी भर पढ़ते रहना है, लाइफ लॉन्ग लर्निंग, एंड दैट आई थिंक इज़ द एजुकेशन. एंड एजुकेशन कैन बी मेड फन. तो जो हम फन टू डू लैब्स में बना रहे हैं, वी रियलाइज हर एक को मैथ के नाइटमेयर आते थे, मुझे इंक्लूडिंग मैथ के नाइटमेयर आते थे. एंड मैथ इज़ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. पाई सबको पता है 22/7 होता है. 99% पीपल डोंट नो कि पाई का मतलब क्या होता है. क्या पाई इज़ नॉट अ मैथमेटिकल कांस्टेंट. पाई उससे पहले एक कंसेप्ट है जो मैथ्स में आपको पढ़ाया जाता है, एंड दैट कंसेप्ट इज़ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. तो वो आई थिंक हमें बनाना है. वी एट फन टू डू लैब्स आर डूइंग, आई थिंक सब कर सकते हैं. टीच फॉर इंडिया और बहुत सारे आजकल इनिशिएटिव्स हैं जहाँ पर आप जाके कर सकते हो. बिकॉज अगर हम एजुकेशन को इंटरेस्टिंग बनाएंगे किड के लिए, आज प्रॉब्लम एजुकेशन की क्यों नहीं सॉल्व होती? मोदी जी चाहते हैं सारा देश पढ़े, माँ बाप चाहते हैं देश पढ़े, टीचर्स चाहते हैं देश पढ़े, अरे वो बच्चा पढ़ना ही नहीं चाहता. बच्चा तो नहीं पढ़ना चाहता ना. तो आप मोबाइल फ़ोन को देखिए, मोबाइल फ़ोन रीच एवरीवेयर इन इंडिया इन स्पाइट ऑफ ऑल दी कंस्ट्रेंट्स बिकॉज पीपल वांटेड मोबाइल फोन्स, बट किड डजंट वांट टू स्टडी. तो अगर हम एजुकेशन को फन बना देंगे तो kid will want to study, and then obviously India will change.
Okay, so we'll have last question for the day because of paucity of time. So if both of you can ask at the same time, and then maybe our panelist can answer.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Myself, Chandra Prakash. My question to you, Kriti ma'am, is that if we recall the time of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, he was such a statesman, and today India needs, if India wants a seat in United Nations Permanent Security Council, it needs a statesman. Modi is not a statesman. It's a wave which is coming to make him. I'm talking about, ma'am, that, okay, ma'am. So, ma'am, you are doing about underprivileged societies. Gandharva Rathore and my friends are also YAS. And Ilma Afroj, you will be knowing she is IFF from Sensory Funds. So, from SRCC, it makes money-minded. But in life, do we need only money-minded or people-centric also? Like you are helping people. So, ma'am, what are your views on that?
Yes, Shubhankar, you can also ask.
I have a question for ma'am. Like SRCC is like something self-doubt. Do I really self-doubt? Do I really deserve to be here like that?
Like for me?
Yeah. So how you tackle that situation?
Like for you also, you feel like
Each of the students, basically जिन students को मैं जानता हूँ, all those students are having the same doubt.
Really? Wow. I thought I am a misfit. Well, honestly, I think when you are in college, you have that advantage over others that you still have time to explore other things. You are still young. You still have, a plethora of resources out there to figure out what works for you, what doesn't work for you. So even though you have self-doubt in you, convert it into synergies in a way that it can help you find out what exactly do you want to do. I mean, SRCC for me was an institution that changed me as a person. From the educational POV, as sir said, for me it was something that added to my skill sets. I was not great at public speaking. I absolutely love doing it now. So use this opportunity in a way where you can change, it can add to your personality, it can add to your characteristics and skill sets. If you have doubts about why am I here, use it in a way that it can, you can graduate and say that, okay, it was worth it. Like 3 years, it was great that I was here. Because once you step out in the world, you will do, definitely you're going to realize that the value that SRCC holds for every single student is insane. That's exactly where I was, where you were in those 3 years. But right now I can just say that I'm so grateful that I was a student of this college. So use it in a way that it can benefit you.
Right. Thank you so much, Vishakha. So on this note, I give my heartfelt thanks to all our distinguished panelists for taking out their valuable time and sharing their thoughts, experiences with us. A very enriching session, I must say, for all of us, and it has been a great pleasure for us at OIP SRCC to have hosted you, and thank you so much. Thank you.
I thank all our esteemed panelists for taking out time and sharing your enlightening views and opinions. This was definitely an abundantly knowledgeable discussion. We have now come to the end of the discussion. We feel honored and privileged to have hosted such great panelists. Your presence graced the afternoon and surely helped all of us to gain a new perspective. Thank you. We now open the stage for the thematic discussions. We'll have with us 5 distinguished alumni of SRCC who will be joining online.